The betrayal. Welcome to Twisted Heartstrings. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The woman behind the blueprint. Maya Chen had always believed that love meant sacrifice. For 6 years, she had proven this belief over and over again. While her classmates from Columbia's architecture program were designing skyscrapers in Dubai and museums in Paris, Maya was working in a small firm in Brooklyn, creating renovations for brownstones and local businesses. The reason was simple. Daniel Hart needed her close. "You know how important these early years are for my startup," Daniel would say, running his fingers through her hair as they lay in bed. "Once TechVision takes off, we'll have all the time and money in the world. Then you can design whatever you want." Maya believed him. She always did. At 30 years old, Maya had learned to make herself smaller. She attended Daniel's investor dinners wearing dresses he picked out. She laughed at jokes she didn't find funny. She stayed quiet when his business partners ignored her or assumed she was just another pretty face at the table. The apartment they shared in Chelsea was under his name. The car she drove was registered to his company. Even her portfolio, which had helped secure 3 major clients for TechVision's office spaces, gathered dust on a shelf, while Daniel took credit for having a good eye for design. But Maya told herself it was temporary. They were building something together. Once Daniel's company went public, they would get married. They would start a family. She would open her own architecture firm. Everything would be worth it. The night everything changed. The charity gala at the Plaza Hotel was supposed to be a celebration. TechVision had just closed a $100 million funding round. Daniel had been talking about it for weeks, his excitement infectious. "This is it, Maya," he had said that morning. "After tonight, everything changes for us." He was right, but not in the way Maya expected. She had spent hours getting ready, wearing an emerald silk gown that Daniel had sent over with a note. "Wear this. Trust me." The color brought out the gold undertones in her skin and made her dark eyes shine. For once, she felt beautiful, worthy of standing beside him. The ballroom was filled with New York's elite. Investors, tech founders, celebrities, and old money families who traced their lineage back to the Mayflower. Maya recognized several faces from magazine covers. Daniel was in his element, working the room with practiced charm. Maya stood beside him, smiling until her cheeks hurt, shaking hands with people who would forget her name within minutes. "Ladies and gentlemen," a voice boomed from the stage. The room fell silent. "We have a special announcement tonight." Maya felt Daniel's hand slip away from the small of her back. When she turned to look at him, he wasn't looking at her. His eyes were fixed on the stage, where a stunning blonde woman in a white gown stood beside the event host. Victoria Ashford. Maya recognized her from the business pages. She was the daughter of Richard Ashford, one of the most powerful venture capitalists in the country. She was also TechVision's newest board member. "As many of you know," the host continued, "TechVision has been making waves in the tech industry. But tonight, we celebrate an even more exciting merger. Please join me in congratulating Daniel Hart and Victoria Ashford on their engagement." The room erupted in applause. Champagne glasses clinked. People surged forward to offer congratulations. Maya stood frozen, the world tilting on its axis. Daniel was already walking toward the stage. He climbed the steps, took Victoria's hand, and kissed her cheek. The cameras flashed like lightning. They looked perfect together, like they had stepped out of a fairy tale. Maya's hands were shaking. The room was too hot, too loud, too bright. She needed to leave, but her feet wouldn't move. "Excuse me, miss," a waiter said. "You're blocking the champagne station." She stumbled backward, her heel catching on the carpet. A strong hand caught her elbow. "Easy there," a woman's voice said. When Maya looked up, she saw an older woman with kind eyes and silver hair. First time dealing with a public humiliation, Maya tried to speak, but no words came out. "Come on," the woman said, guiding her toward a side exit. "Let's get you some air." The truth behind the lies. The terrace was empty, the November air biting cold. Maya's teeth chattered, but she welcomed the pain. It was better than the numbness threatening to swallow her whole. "Here." The woman draped her own shawl around Maya's shoulders. "I'm Eleanor, by the way. Eleanor Price." "Maya," she whispered. "Maya Chun." "I know who you are," Eleanor said gently. "You're the architect, the one who designed Daniel's first office space, and his second, and the reception area that's been featured in 3 design magazines." Maya's eyes filled with tears. How do you? I make it my business to know things, Eleanor said. Especially when young women like you are being used and discarded by men like Daniel Hart. He loves me, Maya said, but the words sounded hollow even to her own ears. This must be some kind of mistake. A business arrangement. Eleanor shook her head. Oh, it's a business arrangement, all right. But not the kind you're thinking. Daniel needed Ashford's money to keep TechVision afloat. The company is bleeding cash, has been for months. Richard Ashford agreed to invest another $50 million, but only if Daniel married his daughter. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. No, that's not possible. TechVision is successful, Daniel said. Daniel has been lying to you for 6 months, Eleanor interrupted. The fancy dinners, the new car, the expensive apartment, all funded by loans he can't pay back. He was going to lose everything. So he made a deal. Maya gripped the terrace railing. Why are you telling me this? Because 20 years ago, I was you, Eleanor said quietly. A bright young woman who sacrificed everything for a man who saw her as a stepping stone. I lost years of my life, my career, my self-respect. I don't want to see the same thing happen to you. Before Maya could respond, the terrace door burst open. Daniel stood there, his face flushed with anger and champagne. There you are, he said, striding toward her. We need to talk. Eleanor melted into the shadows, but not before squeezing Maya's hand once. The cruelest words. Daniel grabbed Maya's arm and pulled her into an empty coat room. The door slammed shut behind them. What the hell, Maya, he hissed. You just disappeared. Do you know how that looks? Maya yanked her arm free. How it looks? You just announced your engagement to another woman, and you're worried about how it looks? Keep your voice down. Daniel snapped, glancing at the door. This is a business arrangement, nothing more. I thought you understood that. Understood what? You never told me anything. I've been trying to tell you for weeks, but you've been so clingy lately. Daniel ran his hands through his hair, a gesture Maya had once found endearing. Now it just looked manipulative. Look, this doesn't change anything between us. We can still be together. Maya stared at him in disbelief. You want me to be your mistress? Don't be dramatic. Victoria knows about us. She's fine with it. This is just about money and connections. You and I, we have something real. Real? Maya's laugh was bitter. You don't even know what real means. Did you know I won the Henderson contract? The museum project I've been working on for 8 months? They called me yesterday. It's worth $500,000. Daniel's expression shifted, a spark of interest replacing the irritation. That's great, Maya. See, things are working out for both of us. Maybe you could. Could what? Give you a cut? Use my fee to help fund your company. That's not what I meant, Daniel said, but his tone suggested it was exactly what he meant. I just think we should support each other. I've supported your career all these years. Supported me? Maya's voice rose. You've kept me hidden like a dirty secret. You've taken credit for my work. You've made me small so you could feel big. I made you. Daniel's mask finally slipped, revealing something cold and cruel underneath. You made yourself small, Maya. You're the one who was too afraid to chase your dreams. Don't blame me because you're not good enough to make it on your own. The words struck like a knife. For a moment, Maya couldn't breathe. I'm pregnant, she said quietly. Daniel froze. What? I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. I found out 3 days ago. I was going to tell you tonight. The silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Get rid of it, Daniel said finally. Maya felt something inside her shatter. What? You heard me. Get rid of it. I'm getting married in 3 months. I can't have this complication. Complication? Maya's vision blurred with tears. This is your child. It's a mistake, Daniel said coldly. And mistakes need to be fixed. I'll give you $20,000. That should cover everything and keep you comfortable for a few months. But you need to handle this quietly. You're offering me money to abort our baby? I'm offering you a solution to a problem. Daniel was already pulling out his phone. I'll have my assistant send over the details tomorrow. Just handle it, Maya. For both our sakes. He walked toward the door, then paused. And Maya? That NDA you signed when you started working on TechVision projects? It covers everything. Our relationship, my business dealings, all of it. If you try to cause trouble, I'll bury you in lawsuits. You'll lose everything. The door closed behind him with a soft click. The breaking point. Maya didn't remember leaving the hotel. One moment she was standing in the coat room. and the next she was on the subway, heading back to Brooklyn. The apartment in Chelsea wasn't hers. She had never belonged there. Her best friend Jenna lived in a walk-up in Williamsburg. Maya showed up at midnight, mascara streaking her face, still wearing the emerald gown. "Oh my God," Jenna gasped, pulling her inside. "What happened?" Maya opened her mouth to explain, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she collapsed on Jenna's couch and sobbed. It took an hour for the story to come out. By the end, Jenna was pacing the small living room, her face murderous. "That absolute bastard," she seethed. "We're calling a lawyer tomorrow. We're exposing him." "I can't," Maya whispered. "The NDA. He'll destroy me. Then we'll find another way." "But Maya, you can't let him get away with this." Maya curled into herself, one hand unconsciously moving to her stomach. "I just want to disappear." "No," Jenna said firmly, kneeling beside her. "No more disappearing. No more making yourself small. You are Maya Chen. You graduated top of your class. You've designed buildings that will stand for generations. You are not going to let Daniel heartbreak you." But 3 days later, Maya woke up to blood on her sheets and cramping pain that felt like her body was tearing itself apart. The miscarriage happened in Jenna's tiny bathroom. There was no dramatic hospital scene, no tender moment of grief. Just Maya, alone, losing the last piece of what she thought her life would be. The decision. 2 weeks later, Maya sat in her own apartment, a studio she had rented with money from a project Daniel didn't know about. Her phone buzzed constantly with his texts. "Maya, we need to talk. Stop being childish. I heard about the miscarriage. I'm sorry, but maybe it's for the best." She deleted each one without reading past the first few words. On her laptop, she had 3 tabs open. One was her resignation letter to the firm in Brooklyn. Another was an application to a prestigious architecture studio in Chicago. The third was an email from Eleanor Price, who had somehow found her contact information. "When you're ready for the truth, call me." Maya stared at her reflection in the darkened window. She looked like a stranger, hollow-eyed, thin, worn down. But underneath the exhaustion, something else was stirring, something hard and bright and burning. She thought about Daniel, laughing with Victoria at expensive restaurants. She thought about the design she had created, the credit he had stolen. She thought about 6 years of her life, given freely to a man who valued her less than a stock option. And she thought about the woman she could have been if she had never met him. Maya opened a new tab and typed, "Eleanor Price contact information." If Daniel thought this was over, he was very wrong. The girl who made herself small was gone. What rose from those ashes was someone new, someone who remembered exactly how to fight. And Maya Chun was just getting started. The rise. 3 years later. The morning sun poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Maya's office in downtown Chicago. From the 40th floor, Lake Michigan stretched out like a sheet of glass, sailboats dotting its surface. Her corner office at Sterling & Associates was everything she had once dreamed of, modern, spacious, filled with models of buildings she had actually designed. Maya stood at her drafting table, reviewing plans for a luxury hotel in Miami. At 33, she barely resembled the woman who had fled New York with a broken heart and empty bank account. Her hair was cut in a sharp bob. Her clothes were tailored, expensive, chosen by her, not some man. Her handshake was firm. Her voice was steady. She had learned to take up space again. Maya, her assistant, Connor, poked his head through the door. "Your 10 o'clock is here. Eleanor Price." Maya's pen stilled. She hadn't seen Eleanor in person since that night 3 years ago, though they had spoken on the phone dozens of times. Eleanor had been the one to recommend her to Sterling & Associates. She had been the one to introduce Maya to the right people, open the right doors. "Send her in," Maya said. Eleanor swept into the office wearing a crisp navy suit, her silver hair perfectly styled. She had aged well, or perhaps she had always carried herself like someone who refused to let time diminish her. "Look at you," Eleanor said, smiling. "The rising star of Chicago architecture. I knew you had it in you." "Thanks to you," Maya replied, gesturing to the leather chairs by the window. "Thanks to yourself," Eleanor corrected. "I just removed a few obstacles." They settled into the chairs. For a moment, neither spoke. Outside, the city hummed with midday energy. "You didn't come all the way from New York just to admire my office," Maya said finally. Eleanor's smile turned sharp. "No, I didn't. I came because it's time. Time for what? Revenge. The proposal. Eleanor pulled a tablet from her bag and placed it on the table between them. Daniel Hart's Tech Vision is planning to build a new headquarters. A 60-story tower in Manhattan, right in Hudson Yards. Budget, $500 million. It's going to be the crown jewel of his empire. Maya's heart quickened, but she kept her expression neutral. I've seen the news. Every major firm in the country is competing for that contract. Every major firm except Sterling and Associates, Eleanor said, tapping the screen. Until now. A detailed proposal appeared, renderings, budget breakdowns, timeline projections. Maya recognized the style immediately. This wasn't hastily thrown together. This was months of work. You've been planning this, Maya said slowly. We've been planning this, Eleanor corrected. I've spent 3 years positioning you for this moment. Getting you the right projects, building your reputation, making sure every architecture magazine in America knows your name. Daniel Hart has no idea who Maya Chun is now. To him, you're just the talented architect from Sterling who's been making waves. Maya studied the renderings. They were brilliant, sharp, modern, sustainable. Everything Daniel would want for his ego project. Why? Maya asked. Why do all this for me? Eleanor's expression softened. Because I told you, 20 years ago, I was you. The man who destroyed me? He's still out there, still successful, still ruining other women's lives. I couldn't touch him. But you? You can touch Daniel. How? By designing his building? That sounds more like helping him than destroying him. That's just the beginning. Eleanor leaned forward. Maya, I told you that night that Daniel's company was bleeding money. It still is. He's been hiding it behind smoke and mirrors, using Victoria's family money to plug holes. But there are larger problems. She swiped to a new screen, pages of financial documents, emails, internal memos. Daniel has been committing fraud, Eleanor continued. Lying to investors about user numbers, inflating revenue projections, cooking the books. I have evidence. Enough to send him to prison. Maya's hands clenched in her lap. Then why not just expose him? Because that would be too quick. Too clean. Eleanor's eyes glinted. I want him to watch his empire crumble piece by piece. And I want you to be the one holding the hammer. What do you get out of this? Maya asked. Satisfaction, Eleanor said simply. And maybe a little redemption. I couldn't save myself back then. But I can help you save yourself now. Maya turned to stare out the window. 3 years ago, she would have jumped at this chance. She had been raw with grief and rage, desperate for anything that would ease the pain. But now, I've built a good life here, she said quietly. A clean life. Going after Daniel means going back to New York, dragging up everything I've tried to forget. Is that what you've been doing? Eleanor asked. Forgetting? Or just hiding? The words hit harder than Maya expected. Every night, you still dream about it. Eleanor continued, her voice gentle but relentless. The gala, the coat room, the bathroom floor in your friend's apartment. You wake up and tell yourself you've moved on, but you haven't. Not really. The anger is still there, buried under all your success. Maya closed her eyes. Eleanor was right. Of course she was right. I don't want to become bitter, Maya whispered. I don't want revenge to consume me. This isn't about bitterness, Eleanor said. This is about justice. Daniel took 6 years of your life. He tried to take your career, your dignity, your future. And he's doing it to someone else right now, multiple someone else's. If we don't stop him, he'll keep destroying women until the day he dies. Maya opened her eyes. What exactly do you want me to do? Eleanor smiled. Win the contract. Get inside Tech Vision. Find the evidence we need to expose everything. And when the time is right, we bring him down so hard he never gets up again. The competition. 2 weeks later, Maya stood in a conference room at Tech Vision's current headquarters in Manhattan. Her team from Sterling and Associates flanked her. Connor with the presentation materials, 2 junior architects with the physical models, and her boss Richard Sterling himself, who had been thrilled at the opportunity to compete for such a prestigious project. Nervous, Richard whispered. Never, Maya lied. The door opened. A woman entered first, tall, blonde, elegant. Victoria Ashford Hart, looking every inch the society queen she was born to be. She wore a cream pantsuit and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Behind her came Daniel. Maya's breath caught. 3 years had changed him. Gray threaded through his dark hair. Lines creased his forehead. He looked tired, stressed, older than 35. But he still carried himself with that same arrogant confidence that had once made her feel safe and now made her feel sick. Their eyes met across the room. For a moment, recognition flickered in Daniel's gaze. Then it vanished, replaced by polite blankness. He didn't remember her. Or maybe he did, and simply didn't care. "Mr. Sterling," Daniel said, shaking Richard's hand. "Thank you for coming. We're excited to see your proposal." His gaze slid over Maya without pausing. "And your team." "This is Maya Chun," Richard said, gesturing to her. "She'll be lead architect if we're selected. Maya's work on the Hartford Hotel and the Chicago Cultural Center has been groundbreaking." "A pleasure," Daniel said, extending his hand. Maya took it. His palm was warm, familiar in a way that made her want to recoil. "The pleasure is mine, Mr. Hart," she said smoothly. "I've followed TechVision's growth with great interest." Something flickered in his eyes, confusion, perhaps, at her accent, her poise. She was not the woman he remembered. Good. The presentation. Maya's presentation was flawless. She had practiced every word, every gesture, every pause for emphasis. The renderings played on the screen behind her, a soaring tower of glass and steel, with green terraces cascading down one side, a design that spoke of innovation and sustainability. "The TechVision Tower won't just be a building," Maya said, her voice clear and confident. "It will be a statement, a declaration that your company is looking toward the future, not just in technology, but in how we interact with our environment." She detailed the solar panels integrated into the facade, the rainwater collection system, the use of recycled materials. Every element had been calculated to appeal to Daniel's ego while serving a larger purpose. Victoria watched with keen interest, asking pointed questions about budgets and timelines. Daniel's attention wandered occasionally to his phone, the classic move of a man who believed his time was more valuable than anyone else's. "The budget is ambitious," Victoria noted. "How do you plan to stay under 500 million? "By making smart choices from the start," Maya replied. "We've partnered with manufacturers who specialize in sustainable materials at scale. The initial cost is slightly higher, but the long-term savings in energy and maintenance will offset the investment within 10 years. 10 years is a long time in tech," Daniel said, speaking up for the first time. "TechVision might not even exist in 10 years. The room went quiet. Victoria's smile tightened. "Then you'll want a building that outlasts your company," Maya said smoothly. "Something that becomes iconic, that people associate with innovation even after the industry moves on. Architecture is about legacy, Mr. Hart. What legacy do you want to leave?" Daniel studied her, really looked at her for the first time. She met his gaze without flinching. "I like her," he said finally, turning to Victoria. "She's got fire." The unexpected ally. After the presentation, Richard and the team went to celebrate at a nearby bar. Maya begged off, claiming exhaustion. In truth, she needed air, needed space to process seeing Daniel again. She walked through Hudson Yards, past the vessel sculpture, thinking about how much money was poured into this neighborhood while other parts of the city crumbled. New York hadn't changed. It still worshipped wealth above all else. "You were impressive in there." Maya spun around. Victoria stood a few feet away, her coat wrapped tight against the November wind. "Mrs. Hart," Maya said carefully, "I didn't realize you followed me." "I didn't. I was hoping you'd come out here." Victoria stepped closer. "Can we talk?" "Somewhere private." They ended up in a coffee shop, tucked into a corner booth away from the windows. Victoria ordered a black coffee. Maya ordered tea she wouldn't drink. "How long have you known?" Victoria asked without preamble. Maya's stomach dropped. "Known what? Please, don't insult my intelligence." Victoria pulled out her phone, swiped to a photo, and turned it toward Maya. It was a picture from 6 years ago, Maya and Daniel at some tech conference, his arm around her waist, both of them laughing. Maya remembered that day. She had thought they were happy. "Where did you get that?" Maya whispered. "I hired a private investigator the day after our engagement was announced," Victoria said. "I wanted to know everything about the man I was being forced to marry. Imagine my surprise when I discovered he had a long-term girlfriend he'd never mentioned." "Then why did you go through with the wedding?" "The same reason you stayed with him for 6 years." Victoria's laugh was bitter. "Because I was trapped. My father made it clear, marry Daniel or lose my inheritance, my trust fund, my place in the family. I chose survival. She took a sip of coffee, composing herself. But that doesn't mean I have to like it. These 3 years have been a performance. The perfect wife, the supportive partner, the gracious hostess. Meanwhile, Daniel continues to be exactly who he's always been. Why are you telling me this? Maya asked. Because I looked into you after I found that photo. I know about the miscarriage. I know about the NDA. I know he threw you away like garbage. Victoria's eyes hardened. And I know that you're not here just to design a building. Maya's heart pounded. What makes you think? Eleanor Price sent you. The name hung between them. How do you know Eleanor? Maya asked carefully. She contacted me 6 months ago. Told me everything. About Daniel's fraud, his financial crimes, the way he's been using my family's money to cover his tracks. Victoria leaned forward. She also told me that there was a woman who could help bring him down. A woman with every reason to want revenge. And you believed her? I had my team verify everything she said. It's all true. Daniel is a criminal. He's been lying to me, to my family, to his investors. The company is worthless. He's worthless. Victoria's voice dropped. Eleanor wants to destroy him. So do I. The question is, do you? Maya stared into her tea, watching the steam rise. This was the moment of truth. She could walk away, go back to Chicago, keep building her clean, safe life. Or she could stay and burn everything down. What would you need from me? Maya asked. Victoria smiled, and for the first time, it looked genuine. When the contract. That part is easy. You were already the best proposal. Once you're in, you'll have access to TechVision's offices, files, everything. Eleanor has been gathering evidence from the outside, but we need someone on the inside to find the smoking gun. That's corporate espionage. I could go to prison. Only if we get caught. And we won't. Victoria pulled out a small device from her purse, a USB drive. This contains everything Eleanor has collected so far. Study it. Learn the patterns. When you find the final pieces, we'll turn it all over to the FBI. Why not just give them what you have now? Because it's not enough. Daniel has expensive lawyers, powerful friends. We need irrefutable proof, enough that no amount of money can make it disappear. Victoria slid the USB across the table. Help me do this, and I'll make sure you're protected. I'll make sure you get everything you deserve. Maya picked up the drive, feeling its weight in her palm. So small. So dangerous. There's one more thing, Victoria said. When this is over, I want a divorce. But I need leverage to get one without my father interfering. Daniel's crimes will give me that. So this is about your freedom too, Maya realized. Yes, we're both prisoners of the same man. Victoria stood, leaving money on the table for the coffee. Think about it. You have until tomorrow to decide. If you're in, win the contract. If you're out, throw away that drive and forget we ever had this conversation. She paused at the booth. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what he did to you. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to stop the wedding. And I'm sorry that we both wasted so much of our lives on a man who never deserved either of us. Then she was gone, disappearing into the New York night. Maya sat alone in the coffee shop, the USB drive burning a hole in her pocket. Outside, the city glittered with ambition and secrets. Somewhere in those towers, Daniel was probably celebrating, thinking he had won again. He had no idea what was coming. Maya pulled out her phone and texted Eleanor. I'm in. The reply came instantly. Good. Let's teach him what it means to underestimate a woman. The victory. 3 weeks later, Maya stood in TechVision's conference room once more. This time, champagne was flowing. Richard Sterling was grinning ear to ear. Daniel and Victoria stood at the front of the room, the picture of a power couple. We're thrilled to announce that Sterling and Associates has won the contract for TechVision Tower, Victoria said, raising her glass. And we're especially excited to work with Maya Chun, whose vision perfectly captures what we want this building to represent. Applause rippled through the room. Daniel raised his glass to Maya, his smile patronizing. Congratulations, Maya, he said. I look forward to working closely with you. The feeling is mutual, Maya replied, matching his smile with one of her own. Connor nudged her, whispering excitedly about how this would make their careers. Richard was already talking to reporters about the innovative design. Everyone was celebrating. No one noticed Victoria catch Maya's eye across the room. No one saw the tiny nod they exchanged. The trap was set. The prey had walked in willingly. Now all that remained was springing it shut. Maya took a sip of champagne, savoring the taste. Let Daniel enjoy his victory party. Let him think he had won. Soon enough, he would learn the truth. The woman he had thrown away was now the architect of his destruction. And this time, there would be no escape. The reckoning. Inside the enemy's territory. Maya's office at TechVision headquarters was on the 52nd floor, right next to Daniel's executive suite. The irony wasn't lost on her. For 6 years, she had been kept hidden, tucked away in the shadows. Now she had a glass office with her name on the door, visible to everyone who passed by. It had been 2 months since winning the contract. 2 months of morning meetings with Daniel's team, afternoon site visits, evening reviews of construction plans. 2 months of playing the role of professional architect while secretly searching for evidence that would destroy everything Daniel had built. The USB drive Victoria had given her was hidden in her laptop bag, disguised as a regular backup drive. Maya had memorized every document, every email, every transaction. Eleanor had done impressive work, but Victoria was right. It wasn't enough. They needed the original files, the ones Daniel kept hidden behind layers of encryption and legal protection. Maya, Connor knocked on her office door, startling her from her thoughts. Daniel wants to see you in his office. Her stomach tightened. Did he say why? Something about the foundation plans. He seemed stressed. Maya grabbed her tablet and headed down the hall. Daniel's office was exactly what she expected. Massive, modern, filled with expensive art and tech gadgets designed to impress. The man himself stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, his voice tense. I don't care what the lawyers say. Make it happen. He hung up and turned to Maya, his expression shifting to something resembling charm. Sorry about that. Crisis of the day. Sounds serious, Maya said neutrally. Just investors being nervous. Daniel gestured to the conference table. Sit. We need to talk about the timeline. As Maya spread out the plans, she noticed the strain in Daniel's face. The gray in his hair had spread. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. Whatever was happening behind the scenes, it was taking a toll. The foundation work is on schedule, Maya reported. We break ground next month. But I wanted to discuss the budget again. Material costs have increased, and no budget increases. Daniel cut her off. Find a way to make it work. Mr. Hart, if we cut corners on the foundation, the entire building could be compromised. This isn't something we can. I said no. His voice turned sharp. Figure it out, Maya. That's what I'm paying you for. This was the Daniel she remembered. The one who dismissed concerns, who prioritized money over safety, who believed his will alone could bend reality. Of course, Maya said, keeping her voice steady. I'll revise the plans. As she gathered her materials, Daniel's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his face went pale. Is everything all right? Maya asked, seizing the opportunity. Fine. But his hand shook as he set the phone down. Just family issues. Maya had learned from the USB drive that family issues was Daniel's code for Victoria's family threatening to pull funding. The Ashfords were getting suspicious about TechVision's finances. If there's anything I can do to help, Maya started. You can help by doing your job and not asking questions, Daniel snapped. Then, catching himself, he forced a smile. Sorry. Rough week. Just focus on the building, okay? Maya left his office, her mind racing. Daniel was cracking. The pressure was getting to him. She just needed to push a little harder. The discovery. That night, Maya stayed late at the office. It wasn't unusual. She often worked until midnight, reviewing plans and making adjustments. But tonight, she had a different purpose. Victoria had given her the security codes to Daniel's office. He always leaves by 8, Victoria had said. The cleaning crew doesn't come until 10. You'll have a 2-hour window. At 8:15, Maya slipped into Daniel's office. Her heart pounded as she closed the door behind her. If anyone caught her, no explanation would save her career. She went straight to his computer. Victoria had provided the password, changed weekly, but Victoria somehow always knew the new one. Maya suspected she had access to more than just Daniel's office codes. The computer unlocked. Maya plugged in a second USB drive, this one containing software that would copy everything on Daniel's hard drive without leaving traces. Eleanor had provided it, assuring her it was untraceable. While the software ran, Maya searched the office manually. File cabinets, desk drawers, the safe hidden behind a painting. Victoria had given her that code too. Inside the safe, Maya found what they needed. Handwritten ledgers, old-fashioned, physical books that detailed every fraudulent transaction, every lie to investors, every dollar stolen. Daniel had kept them as insurance, probably to blackmail others if needed. Instead, they would be his downfall. Maya photographed every page with her phone, her hands steady despite her racing pulse. Years of practice controlling her emotions in Daniel's presence had taught her how to stay calm under pressure. She was replacing the ledgers when she heard voices in the hallway. Maya froze. The voices grew louder. One was Daniel's. Her mind went blank with panic. Then training kicked in. She closed the safe, made sure everything looked untouched, and slipped behind the heavy curtains by the window. The door opened. Lights flickered on.